Hey there, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. We're launching our live across all platforms in advance of a press conference from Texas where we're expected to learn more about an active shooter situation that unfolded earlier on today in Texas. We've been told that a suspect is in custody, but the death count could rise beyond the 2 dead that we have confirmed right now. NBC News and other outlets reporting that there are 2 dead. News Nation reporting that there is 13 kids injured in the Texas elementary school shooting. We're tapping into various live feeds, including the live feed for this reporter on the right side of your screen. We're going to listen in, and we're going to start to take your questions and comments as we get more into this breaking news situation out of Texas.
Hello, we are still waiting on that press conference here at the Civic Center, but as you can see, it's very busy. There is also a polling center today. Hello, yes, So there are a lot of people gathering on the lawn here at the Civic Center today. There's chairs set up. This is also a polling place, like you said. So people over there have been waiting to go in and cast their ballot today in the primary runoff election, while others have been walking in the building trying to reunify with their child who was brought here after just an unimaginable incident. There are snacks and food over here brought by law enforcement in the community for people who are waiting here outside. A lot of people gathering in the chairs over here too, talking and holding each other and crying after a very emotional day. So we're keeping an eye on things over here. When there is a press conference, we will obviously bring you that information.
Press conference. It's going to happen at 5 o'clock at the Fairplex. 3 miles down the road, it's going to be on the left-hand side. He's going to come over and tell everyone.
All right, I'm sorry, I lost you just for a little bit there. We were getting some information that the press conference is going to be moved a little bit later, so we are expecting an announcement on that coming here in just a moment. So I apologize, I missed what you said right there.
Good afternoon to those of you joining us here on the WFLA YouTube page, as well as on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. JB here with you as we are monitoring a breaking news situation out of Uvalde, Texas. We're learning that at least 2 are dead, 13 kids among those injured taken to nearby hospitals being treated after an active shooter incident in Uvalde, Texas, near Robb Elementary School. We're still learning details about this. A press conference that was scheduled for sometime, really, it was supposed to happen around 4:30 Eastern time, was the rough time frame that we received for a press conference. That has been pushed back. Reason might be because the situation is still rapidly unfolding. While there is a suspect in custody, the death toll is believed to be higher than 2 dead. We have it confirmed right now that there are 2 people dead, but we're hearing the death toll could be higher than that. New numbers are being reported by various news outlets, and we're trying to get that information confirmed for you to pass along for you as well. Of course, we'll find out more at this press conference when it does in fact begin. If we get an updated time for the press conference, we'll of course pass it along. We got a lot of different feeds now that are just popping up on our grid, so we'll be able to show you some different points of reference from around Uvalde, Texas. For those of you joining us here on YouTube Live, we'll try to take you all over the place, but we're also going to be very mindful of that press conference for when it does in fact begin. As we understand it, this is an area near Robb Elementary School. You can see the crime scene tape that is up, the perimeter that has been established by police in Texas, and then we have this aerial shot. We're trying to get an exact location for this aerial shot. This might be the Civic Center. This is a point where officials have told parents, educators, administrators, just loved ones in the community to gather as a recollection point, a place where they can reestablish connection with one another. If you're looking for your child, if you're looking for your loved one, it might be here at the Civic Center. That's what we've been told. You can see, let's go here full screen. You can see that there's an official briefing, people that are just now arriving. Or this might be the hospital. We'll get an updated location for this chopper as soon as we can. We'll stay here with you live in advance of this press conference from Uvalde, Texas, where at least 2 are dead, 13 kids injured in a elementary school shooting, again in Uvalde, Texas. Got some new video being fed back to the station. This is from the last hour and a half or so, showing you some of the shots from, again, Uvalde, Texas. I'm looking at this for the first time, so we're looking here at some shots from near the school. I believe that's signage for Robb Elementary School. This is, again, near the school where this shooting is said to have occurred. We do know, by the way, you can see some officials. Looks like some deputies, some officers moving quickly here at the scene. There you can see an armed officer getting into a county vehicle. And I think we might be getting some new information. Stand by.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
You're looking at a live picture from Uvalde, Texas, where 14 students and one teacher have been killed in a shooting that occurred Tuesday morning at a Texas elementary school. The suspected shooter, who might have had a handgun and a rifle, fatally wounded by responding law enforcement. Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. We're tapping into a lot of signals out of Uvalde, Texas. This is an area west of San Antonio. The school in question, Robb Elementary School. We're following now numerous reports, but this latest report coming from NBC News. Again, I'll repeat this for those of you just joining us. 14 students, one teacher killed in a shooting that occurred this morning at Robb Elementary School in Texas, according to Governor Greg Abbott. In Texas, the suspected shooter, who might have been carrying a handgun and a rifle, according to Abbott, was fatally wounded by responding law enforcement. The incident, as of right now, is no longer active. The suspected shooter, 18 years old. So this is a live picture. Let's kind of show you, let's go to this feed full screen and show you what we're looking at. You can see this is the Emergency Medical Task Force utility vehicle at SAFD, that is San Antonio the San Antonio Fire Department. We also have this feed that we'll go to as well. This is showing you the general area where this shooting is believed to have occurred. You can see off in the distance, you've got the DEA, the FBI. We've seen county officials. There you see the San Antonio Fire Department utility vehicle there on the right side of your screen as well. It's an all hands on deck response here west of San Antonio in Uvalde, Texas. And I've been told we're engaging a new digital audience. Stand by.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
A live picture here from Uvalde, Texas, west of San Antonio, where we have a shooting that has left 14 students dead, as well as a teacher dead. This is west of San Antonio at a Texas elementary school. The suspected shooter, who might have had a handgun and a rifle, fatally wounded by responding law enforcement. Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live. This is a breaking news story that we're following out of Uvalde, Texas. That's an area west of San Antonio. This is no longer an active shooter situation. It was as of this morning, when it was an all hands on deck response by Texas law enforcement. We have seen the FBI, we've seen the DEA, we've seen county officials, we've seen San Antonio Fire Department, them sending their emergency response units to the scene. This is a live chopper feed that we have. We also have a feed showing you the Civic Center. The Civic Center is of note because we've been told that this is the reunification point for parents who are looking for their loved ones. Again, this shooting occurring at a Texas elementary school this morning, and we have 14 students reported dead. That according to NBC News, who has been briefed by Governor Greg Abbott. We've also been told that a press conference is going to get underway at some point here shortly, but because of the rapidly evolving situation, that press conference has been pushed back at least temporarily. The press conference was expected to begin about half an hour ago, but because this, again, continues to rapidly evolve, that press conference has been pushed back, and as soon as we have that press conference, we're going to be taking it here for you live on WFLA Now. We've got several different feeds to show you here. I want to show you a new one that just came in that shows you the scene of the shooting itself. Let's go here to this feed live. And this is the area of where the shooting is said to have occurred. You can see in the foreground, we have crime scene tape, a perimeter that has been established. On the left side of your screen, you can see off there in the tent, there are officials from the FBI, the DEA. I think that the county sheriff's office is here as well. You can see units in tactical gear. And then let's show you what the scene looked like a short time ago. So this was video that was fed back to us by NBC News. You can see, again, Uvalde Fire Rescue responding, San Antonio Fire Rescue responding. Here we have a school bus, again, at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. So there's some of the signage for the front area of the school where the shooting is said to have taken place. There we see the crime scene tape that has been put up as well. And again, for those of you just joining us, you're not misreading this on the bottom of your screen. You're not misreading the description on this social media video. It is 14 students deceased, according to Governor Greg Abbott, who spoke to NBC News, as well as one teacher in the area of Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. Some details on the shooter. Okay, 18 years old. We're hearing might be a local student, a local high school student. We're waiting on confirmed details about the student coming forth, but we believe that those details are starting to now be reported by network news. 18 years old who might have had a handgun and a rifle fatally wounded by law enforcement responding to the scene. So now we've got a couple of different shots to show you here. Let's go to this feed first and show you, it looks like this might be, again, near the scene of the shooting. It is, and let's show you now the aerial feed as well, the chopper feed. I think that they continue to airlift people, while we do have, of course, the reported number of 14 students, excuse me, and one teacher dead. We also have an untold number of people that have been injured. We're trying to get the exact injury count confirmed for you. As the chopper now pans out, this chopper feed has been available to us for some time, and I think is moving now to a different location in Uvalde, Texas. Here we have a second scene. They were just showing you some of the air traffic going to and from Uvalde, and there we have a vehicle. This is the first time we're seeing this. So here's a vehicle that looks like it's had its front significantly damaged. Apologies, folks. We're getting a lot of new information that's coming in the last 5 to 10 minutes. So I was just pausing to be able to hear some of that information in my earpiece. There's a lot of media descending now on Uvalde, Texas, a relatively small town, tight-knit community based on, of course, all of the live reports that we've been hearing there from the scene. We actually just missed here a moment ago that these two women were embracing. Let's see if we can bring in some of the audio. Let's just try to listen to some of the raw audio from this feed. I'm going to see if I can boost it. Stand by. moving to our second feed, again, the chopper in the air, examining some separate scenes that we have in Uvalde, Texas. Back here to this one vehicle that is in a ditch of some kind and has had the front of that vehicle damaged. Now, we don't know exactly how this fits in to the shooting that occurred. Again, it's been described to us as a Tuesday morning shooting. The exact time of that shooting and the active shooter situation, how long it took to defuse, all of those details are still coming in. There we can see some damage to the left driver's side, the rear driver's side tire, as well as, no, actually both tires on the driver's side. And significant damage to the front of the vehicle. As you can see, FBI and local law enforcement speaking. I'm going to show you this feed as well, again, showing you this is the reunification point. We're going to go here. And I believe that a reporter is speaking on this path, so let's just listen for a second. You can see people coming in and out of the building. This is, again, a reunification point for those in the Uvalde community. And now back to the chopper feed. And let's go split screen and show you both of these feeds at once so we're not missing too much. On the left side of your screen, this is an area near where the shooting took place or something connected to the shooting itself. Again, we believe that there are multiple scenes here in Uvalde, Texas, connected to the active shooter situation that unfolded earlier today. The right side of your screen is another one of those scenes that we're talking about being shot here from the air, a pickup truck that is in this ditch, in this trench, and you can see it's significantly damaged and cannot move. Both of the tires on the driver's side are shot. So for those of you just joining us, let's just kind of rehash for a second what we're learning about this story in the last half hour, because a lot of this has been confirmed to the news outlets in Texas in the last half hour. So I'm going to go back to my notes here. We have 14 students. That's an overwhelming and gut-wrenching number. 14 students and a teacher killed in this shooting incident that occurred at the Texas elementary school. The suspected shooter, who might have been armed with a handgun and a rifle, they're still piecing together exactly how much he was armed, how much ammunition he had on him. He was fatally wounded by responding law enforcement. This is no longer an active situation. He was 18 years old, we've been told. Initial accounts indicated that there were 13 people taken to the emergency room after the shooting. But a lot of these numbers, and when we have an active shooter situation, so many times, so often do these numbers that originally come out, they prove to be just rough estimations. And why are they rough estimations? It's usually because law enforcement, sometimes small community law enforcement, and also too the emergency response teams that are at these scenes and the emergency response workers or the ER workers in the area hospitals, they're just getting so many people coming through their doors. It can be difficult to keep an exact count when it's that chaotic of a situation. So a lot of times those numbers that come out at the beginning of an active shooter situation or the aftermath of an active shooter situation, those numbers can be erroneous. These numbers, though, we are hearing are confirmed. 14 students dead, 1 teacher dead, as confirmed by the Texas governor, Greg Abbott. All right, looks like the chopper has to refuel. Let's get you back to the ground shot, and let's just kind of listen in here for a moment. You can see this is also a media staging area. So this is the area where the media has been told to go. And also as well, for a media staging area, this is oftentimes the place where a press conference will occur. We have been told that a press conference is going to occur at some point this evening. There are a lot of individuals in the Texas community that we're talking about here in Uvalde that are just clamoring for updates, just desperate for any kind of new information. And that information, as we understand it, is coming together and will be presented at a press conference at some time this evening. An exact time was not specified. There was originally going to be a press conference about 40 minutes ago. That was pushed back without a rescheduled start time as a result, as we understand it, of this being such a rapidly evolving situation. I believe that we have a reporter who is providing some information, a reporter on the ground. Let's check in with her. She's at the reunification area.
Families from Robb Elementary to come pick up their children from school. Just in the last few moments, we've seen a lot of families going in to get their children and a lot of families coming out with their children holding their hands, some even carrying pictures that they colored, headed back to their cars, ready to go safely home. We've also seen people leave crying, law enforcement always escorting them back to their cars, but we have seen law enforcement officials sometimes having to hold people up, getting back to their cars with the grief going on here today. A group of teachers passed through here a little bit earlier, still had their ID badges on and crying, and we're waiting for more information at this time, but reunifications are still happening here as we wait for that press conference. And this is also a voting center today, open until 7 p.m. for the primary runoff. So a lot of people coming in and out of this building, but the emotions are so high in such a small community as well. Yes, that whiteboard has since been moved, but there was a whiteboard out here with names of teachers so that parents, when they showed up, knew if their child was going to be here or at another reunification center. We are seeing a couple ambulances moving off past the Civic Center right now. Those are the sirens that you're hearing. We're seeing some ambulances move away. But yes, the whiteboard is now gone, but a lot of families still coming to be reunified here. Overall, I would describe it as grief. There are people coming in, voting, sometimes learning more information as more continues to come out minute by minute. So those people are grieving. Families coming in to get their children on a day where they thought that they might not come home. It's unimaginably emotional here. A lot of people are shocked and concerned, and the community is coming together. We've seen a lot of hugs out here on the lawn, a lot of people sitting to talk and unpack what's happened here today, and the community is really coming together out here. We have heard that it will be happening soon. We were told that they were setting up inside and that we would be let in just a few moments. So we will let you know as soon as we are able to go in. Clear.
So that Civic Center doubling, it was supposed to be a day where you're voting in the Texas primary runoff. And just want to make sure that we're accessing the correct feeds. I think our news camera crew here, they're repositioning. That's why we're looking here at the concrete. And this is what happens, folks, when we're talking about live TV. Yeah, it looks like the crew is repositioning. And you heard there as well that the press conference has been moved inside. It was going to be outside from what we understood, and now they're moving it inside. So also, too, we're going to see a lot of movement, a lot of camera crews on the go here in the next few minutes to the next half hour, really, until this press conference gets underway. But again, showing you this feed. So a lot of folks who are entering this building might just be getting off of their workday and heading to vote in the Texas primary runoff, as we now get picked up, and I think we're now going inside of the building here to get set up for this press conference. We have another shot. Let's show you. Let's go back to the shot now, showing you the street. This is where, as we understand it, near the area where the shooting occurred, And we're getting some new information from the news briefing that Governor Greg Abbott had in Texas. I'm going to read some quotes from that news briefing that were just sent my way. This is from Abbott saying, "It is believed that he abandoned his vehicle, then entered into the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde with a handgun, and he may have also had a rifle. He shot and killed horrifically and incomprehensibly 14 students and killed a teacher." This again, a quote from Texas Governor Greg Abbott. So this is a shot showing you down the street, and all those vehicles that you're looking at, many of them are law enforcement, federal, state, and county/local law enforcement. And I believe that we did go to black on the second feed, which means that they are getting ready for a press conference where they're going to announce an update. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take you to the press conference as soon as it begins. But this is a heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, and a day that you're not alone, folks, if you're just angry. If you're angry that this happened. Of course, there's sadness that is, I'm sure, setting in with a lot of people, but also just a lot of folks who are just looking up at the sky and wondering how exactly do we have 14 students dead in a school shooting. Press conference is getting set up and is about to get underway. Let's see if we can listen into this feed. We were just given a briefing from network that this is in fact the press conference to announce an update in the shooting that left 14 students and a teacher dead. Let's go live now to Uvalde, Texas.
Good afternoon. I'm Anne Marie Espinoza, Executive Director of Communications and Marketing for Uvalde CISD. Please understand at this time, we will be making a statement and not taking any questions. So we please ask, at this time, we will be making a statement and not taking any questions. Here to provide a statement is our Uvalde CISD Chief of Police, Pete Arredondo.
Good afternoon. As she mentioned, I'm going to make a statement, and at this point we won't take any questions. We will give you a time when we'll be addressing the media soon. At approximately 11:32 a.m. this morning, there was a mass casualty incident at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. The school has children that are in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. I can confirm right now that we have several injuries, adults and students, and we do have some deaths. The suspect is deceased at this point. DPS is assisting with the investigation. And at this point, the investigation is leading to tell us that the suspect did act alone during this heinous crime. Families are being notified, and we are providing services to them as the district should. As far as the rest of the district is concerned, safety measures were taken to make sure that we had a safe release for the rest of the district throughout our city of Uvalde. And we had numerous law enforcement officers and agencies that assisted with the safety release for those students. We do want to keep all our families in their prayers. I hope you do as well. And we also want to respect the privacy of the family. Everything is still being worked on. And again, we'll notify the parents and the families as soon as we have some news for them. Thank you so much.
We greatly appreciate your understanding and patience with us. Please know at this time, we are only making a statement. We will be releasing more information as the investigation continues. We appreciate your courtesy. At this time, it concludes our press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JV Buno.
The suspect acted alone, now deceased, in a shooting that left 14 students and a teacher among the dead in Uvalde, Texas, at a school that had 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade students. JB here with you folks, and this is just one of those days where you just wish that what you just wish that what you were hearing wasn't true. You're talking about an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, west of San Antonio. Just a normal, peaceful day when this day began, and for some unknown reason, a reason that will not make any sense in the long run, you have 14 students and a teacher dead, according to Governor Greg Abbott. They did not announce the numbers in that press conference. It was announced by Governor Greg Abbott in a news briefing that occurred within the last hour. You heard there that they were not taking any questions, so any clarification with numbers. And here's the thing, normally at press conferences such as these, communication between multiple agencies, that can be a challenge when you're dealing with so many agencies responding and such a fluid situation unfolding at nearby hospitals and the nearby medical center. The 18-year-old shooter is deceased and acted alone, acting for a reason in this way that we do not understand at this time what the motive was, whether or not this was a planned and intentional act, but a despicable and heinous act that was carried out by an 18-year-old here at a school in Texas, one that is going to leave countless families in this community and really in Texas and elsewhere in this country looking for answers as to how something like this can happen. Why something like this happened. And it's, I know, and what I do here is I anchor the news here on social media. I know that there's going to be a lot of responses in our social media comment section that involve pointing the finger at this person or this party. But right now, the most important thing to pass along to you is that we have a community that is in an overwhelming state of grief. We have 15 families, really more than 15 families, that are living through their worst nightmare right now. And I ask that if you're commenting in our comment section, I'm just asking that you please treat this with the sensitivity that those families deserve in this moment, this extremely painful moment for this community, a relatively small community in rural Texas. Again, this is about, I want to give you like an idea as to, this is about, I think, a 90-minute drive west of San Antonio. So this is southern Texas. This is not too far away from Mexico, Uvalde. I mean, relatively speaking, as far as communities go, it's not right there on the border with Mexico, but it's not that far away. Just trying to give everybody a lay of the land here. But this is, to put it in the words of Governor Greg Abbott, horrific and incomprehensible that we have 14 students and a teacher dead. Also, it is going to be extremely painful to report the ages of these students, but this shooting occurring at a school that housed second, third, and fourth graders, as we understand it. That was the grades that they gave me, or excuse me, that the press conference provided us with, second, third, and fourth grade. Whether or not there were any students at this school that were younger than that, or whether or not any students that were injured or killed in this incident that are younger than that, but they did mention second, third, and fourth grade at Uvalde. Now we have some of the crews now. They're coming out. You can see this is what happens now at the scene of breaking news. We have crews that were coming in and out, and we also have, you can see police in gear. They're off there in the distance holding the door open, and you can see that there's a group that have gathered here underneath this tree. They've been there for at least an hour now, just seated under this tree, and I think that this is, again, the reunification point. So there's a lot of community members that are coming together that are likely just at a complete loss for what has transpired in their small Texas town. Looking here at some other feeds as well. Let's get you back here to the scene of the shooting, or this is near the scene of the shooting, as we've been told. A perimeter has been established, and this is the closest that the media is allowed to get to where this shooting unfolded. Now, we did have some video earlier, chopper video, aerial video, when they moved from the hospital and the school. They moved over to a vehicle that was clearly disabled, that had both of its tires just in bent sideways, and the front of the vehicle that was damaged, a vehicle that was found in a trench. How that vehicle fits into what unfolded was not made clear in this press conference. We hope to get more information as to what unfolded and how this all unfolded, whether or not there was could that vehicle have been connected to any escape attempt, or was that a vehicle that was used for transportation near the school by the shooter? All of these questions will be answered in time, but right now we have a community that is in an overwhelming state of grief, and we're passing along our thoughts and prayers too. And I ask too that, again, I do this a lot, and I feel like it's just the right thing to do in these situations, to remind our audience that you're going to have all the time in the world as this situation unfolds and as we learn more about this and as people talk about this shooting. And unfortunately, this is one of those shootings that it's going to have its own Wikipedia entry. It's going to have its own set of articles across the internet. This is going to be one of those shootings when you have 14 students dead. It's going to live on in infamy. It's going to be just a terrible day in Texas state history, and really in the history of this country. May 24th, 2022, that we have a shooting incident where we have an 18-year-old, still a teenager technically, an 18-year-old, and we're hearing reports too that that he still might have been at a high school, that he was potentially still a high school student. We're still trying to confirm those facts, but confirm that information. But we have an 18-year-old with a rifle and a handgun allegedly shooting and killing 14 students, young students, not even at his own school, young students and a teacher. This is going to be a day where what I'm trying to say is that there's going to be plenty of time for people to debate and have discourse about how this was able to happen, why this happened, and whether or not it can be prevented in the future. It's only natural for people in our comment section to have that sort of be invoked with that emotional response. But as of right now, the attention and all of the thoughts and prayers should be towards these families, these 15 plus families in Texas that are, again, as I noted earlier, this is their worst nightmare come to life. Any parent will tell you that their worst nightmare is having something happen to their child, especially when they're not there with them. So sending your child to school, you think it's just another day, a normal day at school, and then you get a phone call, or you see something on the news, or you get a urgent emergency text alert. However you find out, that moment is the worst moment for a parent. Period. It doesn't get any worse than that, thinking that your child might be in harm's way or something tragic might have happened to your child. So those parents, those family members, this community, they're the ones I'm thinking about at this time. Details about the shooter and how this was able to happen will be, of course, laid out in time. But right now, just keeping a very, very, very mindful approach to this story and thinking about the families of these victims, and also hoping and praying that this death toll does not get any higher than the 15 that we currently have reported. Taking you now live to outside of the Civic Center. Again, we've got two purposes unfolding. As we noted earlier, two purposes unfolding at the Civic Center in Uvalde. This is a civic center that is for reunification, for family members to be reunified with their loved ones, whether it's a student or whether it's somebody who was employed at the school, worked at the school. This is also doubling right now as a polling location. And again, this speaks to, again, a relatively small community. There aren't too many points of reference, so they're using this building as a point of reference for people to be able to go to be reunified with their loved ones. But also, there are a lot of people who are just coming off of their work day and they're just trying to vote in the Texas primary runoff. So I'm sure that this is a day that it's a confusing day, I'm sure, for a lot of people in Uvalde, Texas. And I'm sure it's a confusing day for many of you watching wherever you're watching from. I'm talking to people who are watching us here, whether I'm joining you from Florida, whether you're in Florida, whether you're in Texas, whether you're somewhere else here in the United States. We also reach an international audience. And I know from doing live streaming to an international audience that a lot of times when we talk to folks and we feature comments from people in Europe or in Asia, there's this general lack of understanding that school shootings just continue to occur in this country, and we get this line of questioning from people in the UK, in South Africa, in Asian countries, people that join us from around the world, whether it be on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, and they ask a very simple question: why do school shootings continue to happen in America? What is the reason for it? And it's not a question that you can answer in one simple response. You might think that there's one simple response, and I think that there's going to be some in our comment section who are going to say, oh, this is the reason for it, that's the reason for it. But it's a multifaceted, complex, and really just gut-wrenching topic of conversation in this country, because we have experienced a lot of school shootings in this country in the last decade plus, and it's leaving us with more questions and fewer answers. So as we talk to you here, folks, talk to a audience that is both national and international, this is something that has been happening in this country, and we can't really speak to what the reason is for this particular shooting until we get more information. And as I noted earlier, the focus right now is on those families. But if you're joining us and you're wondering, why is this happening? How could this happen? I'm making this very, very clear to our audience. You are not alone. Whether you're joining us from around the globe or you're joining us from right here in an American neighborhood, there's a lot of folks who are trying to figure out exactly how this continues to happen in our country when it comes to violence in schools. The last place that violence should be occurring, we have violence in schools. And it's very, very painful. Ask any of the communities that have been through this. Ask any of the communities, and including those here in Florida, ask any of them about school violence, and you get an extraordinarily emotional response from people who can remember days like this like it was yesterday. So again, we've got two feeds. We're going to show you the two feeds. Go split screen here. I believe that the chopper for our NBC affiliate in Texas might be getting back up in the air shortly. This on the left side of your screen is near the elementary school. It's a live picture. We haven't seen much action on this picture in the last 20 minutes or so, but that is live from the street near where this shooting is said to have occurred. On the right side of your screen is the Uvalde, Texas Civic Center, where people are going to vote and people are reunifying with their family members and their loved ones. However, I think that by this point, with where we are now, with this being a shooting that occurred this morning, this is less of a reunification point and more of a polling location. Polls likely close, I would imagine, around 7 o'clock Central Time. And right now, there's still considerable time left in the day for people to vote in the Texas primary runoff. Let's go here now to you full screen and show you what's going on here. And let's just kind of listen in for a moment. As I'm reviewing some of the incoming news reports, I'm very, very careful when it comes to, as we lose that shot. Let's bring up this shot now. I'm very, very, very careful when it comes to reporting names. And I take it very, very seriously when it comes to reporting names. I know this name has made the rounds on social media in the last hour, but I like to, I don't know how many times, quadruple check to make sure that this is a name that I can report. We can now report the name of 18-year-old Salvador Ramos. law enforcement sources who have confirmed now to multiple news outlets, including NBC News, that Salvador Ramos is the 18-year-old who acted alone, now deceased, and responsible for this school shooting that occurred in Uvalde, Texas. Whether or not details on Ramos and whether or not he was a current high school student, or if he was a high school student last year. 18 years old, of course, puts you right there at the cusp, really towards the end of high school. We have heard conflicting reports that he might have been in high school, or he might have been no longer a recent high school student. I don't have that confirmed at this time, but the name has been confirmed, and it is that of 18-year-old Salvador Ramos, deceased for the school shooting that occurred here today in Uvalde. I believe we're getting in some new information as well. Stand by, folks. We're staying here with you live on WFLA Now. An interesting nugget just passed my way, and I'd like to thank our digital content producer Heather Monahan for passing this along to me. So, if you look at the district's calendar, you might be wondering, this is a normal time of the year for school to be wrapping up and for summer vacation to arrive. It was very, very close to being just that in Uvalde, Texas. We've been told, and we have actually confirmed here, that the last day of school in this semester, as we're getting in some tone, the last school day in the school year was going to be this Thursday. This Thursday, May 26th, would have been the final day of school. Whether or not that bears any consideration to this story as far as the shooter goes, that remains to be seen. But had this been a Tuesday 1 week from now, had this been next week, this would not have occurred in the way that it did. It would have been an empty school, or a near empty school, depending on how it's staffed during the summer. But just a gut-wrenching piece of information that they were just a couple of days out from being done with the school year here in this school district in Uvalde, Texas. Yeah, I'm just getting a lot of text messages from people that are having, I'm sure the same reactions that your families are having wherever you're joining us from, just in disbelief, watching the news right now and trying to figure out exactly how this is reality and how this happened. It's just a painful day. And it goes, I want to make this clear, it goes way beyond Texas. This is a painful day for us here in the United States, wherever you're joining us from. Now, in Florida, of course, you're talking about, when you're talking about school shootings, of course, you can't help but go back to perhaps the school shooting that is on the forefront of everyone's minds here in Florida when you look at what unfolded here today, and you're talking about what happened at Stoneman Douglas High School when 17 people were killed, 17 others injured as a result of the shooting that occurred by Nicholas Cruz. Nicholas Cruz, who has been in the news of late, has been in court hearings that have taken place for Nicholas Cruz. It's absolutely, it's just when you have violence, when you have a shooting at a school, it just brings back some extremely painful memories for other communities in the country that have experienced something at this sort of level. A day that you're where it feels like your heart has been ripped out, and another one, of course, being Sandy Hook, December of 2012. Yeah, that one, I'm just reviewing the count. That one leaving 26 people dead. Here we have 15 dead, but we don't know. We have been told that there are those injured at nearby hospitals, including some who might be critically injured. We're still waiting on reports out of the hospital. Right now, these medical centers who are treating individuals in this shooting who have suffered injuries in this shooting, their number one priority isn't to say, okay, you're in critical, okay, have minor injuries, or the priority right now is treating those individuals. And so we are hopeful and just praying that we have no further loss of life here in the area west of San Antonio, Texas. We did have medical helicopters life-flighting people earlier. That's what it appeared to be. We had medical helicopters that were coming to and from Uvalde, Texas. So whether or not some people were transported to San Antonio, I think that's going to become more clear in time. San Antonio being a larger hub with, of course, more equipped medical centers and hospitals. So, I'll try now. What I'll try to do, folks, is try to address some of our commenters. I haven't done that to this point. Just kind of letting the information come forth first. I think it's important for us to report and then react. If you do it the other way, believe me, you get in a whole lot of trouble. So what we're going to try to do now is we're going to try to spotlight some comments and give you a voice wherever you're watching from. You deserve to have your voice heard. We're going to look for some comments in the Facebook Live and the YouTube Live comment section. The system as it works, especially with a news story as sensitive as this one, we don't want to display anybody's comments that don't want to be displayed. So if you have something to say, or if you have a question that you would like answered, or at least attempted to be answered, use the hashtag that's underneath my name on the left side of your screen. This is the system that we use. It's no different from any other live streams that we have done. If you use hashtag HJB, I'll try to feature some of the comments out of the Facebook Live, YouTube Live comment section, and try to make sure that your voices are heard, and let us know where you're watching from. Let us know where you're watching from, and whether or not you just have an observation. If you just want to let folks know that you're praying for these families, or if you have a question, if there's something that you want to articulate. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna take questions and comments that don't detract or distract from the fact that we are dealing with an overwhelming amount of grief that is currently being felt in this Texas town. So let's kind of keep things sensitive in knowing that these families are going through the absolute worst time right now, and so let's continue to keep that theme going in our comment section if we can. I'll be back in about 60 seconds to take some of your questions and comments and spotlight as many as I can here, everybody, on WFLA Now. Starting here from, let's start with YouTube Live. I think we normally we do Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Let's just start with one from YouTube Live. Jenny commenting, #HJB, I'm watching from the UK, and I just want you to know that I send my deepest sympathy and condolences. May those 14 beautiful souls rest in eternal peace. And it's so utterly heartbreaking. Yeah, so it's 14 students and 1 teacher. Let's not forget the 1 teacher killed. In fact, I'll just change that to 1 so everybody can see it. Let's so it's 15 right now. And I know what you meant there, Jenny. It's absolutely, it's just excruciating. And again, just trying to keep as many comments here that are focused on the matter at hand, and the matter at hand is the grief that these communities are experiencing right now. Let's bring up this comment from Michelle. Michelle saying, #HJB, all the love in the world going out to the victims and families of this horrible act of violence. We need more love in this world and less hate, and stop playing politics, is the comment here from Michelle. Love Jones, #HeyJB, truly sad, bless those babies, makes me not want to send my kids to school anymore. Prayers from Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, and I'm just hoping that that most parents across this country, there's a conversation that has to take place, because kids are going to be exposed to the news, and kids who, many of them now, and I think get cell phones at younger and younger ages, they're being exposed to the 24-hour news cycle more than ever before. And so kids are getting exposed to this news, and it falls on parents to have conversations about why this occurs in our schools, and why, and what makes a child's school any different. A child is going to ask, if school shootings happen, what makes my school any different? And these are really difficult questions for parents to answer. But assuring that child that they are going to school in a safe environment where they are protected from harm is so important to their mental well-being, to ensure that they know that they are not going to be in harm's way when they just, hop off the school bus and head to school or head into first period. So these are really tough conversations that had to be had, and I know that a lot of parents are dealing with now how to, if my child asks, how do I talk to them about the fact that there's pure evil in this world? And sometimes you think it's in this community or that community. Well, for the folks in Texas, this really hits home. You might be joining us from another state. You might be, wherever you're joining us from. You might be joining us from here in Florida and think that it can't happen in my town. But that's just, you just don't know. And this Texas community didn't wake up this morning thinking that having any idea that this was going to happen. It's just an extremely painful prospect for all the families involved now, as far as the mental well-being that comes with sending their kids to school. Yeah, I see your comment here, Craig Mackinson, #HeyJB, you expect your kids to be safe in school. It seems it's becoming less safe these days for the kids at school. And we're not getting into politics on this stream. We are not going to talk about politics. That is, in my opinion, you can find another newscaster if you'd like that wants to talk politics right now. I'm not one of them. So if you want to go talk politics, you can go elsewhere. But I will say this, that it's important that on days like today that you remember what has transpired, so that when it comes to what you think is best for this country going forward, when it comes to school safety and when it comes to gun violence, that you are the most educated and the most aware and the most in the know American as you can be when it comes to how you think and who you think, as far as elected representatives, what you think are the best ways for this country to solve what has been unfolding over the last decade plus when it comes to violence in our schools. It's just something to remember for the future, not today, but it's something, and your vote absolutely does in fact matter. So you just have to remember this. You could listen, I don't care if it's left, I don't care if it's right, I don't care which way you feel, but I think that everybody can agree that this cannot be tolerated, that this cannot be just allowed to happen, and we don't identify a problem in this country. So it's not a conversation, in my opinion, for today. I think that the conversation has to be had at some point. But it's something to be very mindful. The emotions that you are feeling today, you have to be mindful of that on the days when these conversations do begin to occur, especially with, of course, this being an election year for so much of the country. It's very, very important that you determine what the issues are in this country. You do. I'm talking to wherever you're joining us from in this country. You determine what the issues are. So it really falls on you as to making sure that your voice is heard in moments that matter most. Della, I see your comment. Thank you. That's very, yeah, we're just, can't talk politics. Can't talk politics. Not, I'm seeing a new feed emerge, you guys. I'm going to check. I'll be right back. 90 seconds here with you. I'll be back on WFLA Now. Please continue. You can file in your hashtag HeyJB questions and comments. We'll continue to take them. And the chopper for our NBC affiliate in Texas is now back up. Chopper had to go down and refuel. So we're back now to a chopper feed. Let's hit the touchscreen and just kind of take you over there and show you. They're getting just some shots of the Uvalde, Texas area. Not sure exactly what we're looking at. I've never been to this section of the state. So it looks like this is an area where traffic is being detoured away from either the hospital or Robb Elementaries. Well, you can't detour traffic away from the hospital. That would, of course, make it inaccessible. So this is likely, I can't say for certain, but likely them detouring traffic away from the street where the shooting is said to have occurred and where, of course, the heavy law enforcement presence is. And again, I'm just going to make it very, very clear in our comment section. The blame game is very real when it comes to social media in situations like this. We're not going to be partaking in that. This is very much right now about the human element to this and not the political and policy element of this. There will be time for politics. There will be time for policy. In fact, if you want politics in this country, yeah, that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on just about every channel of the internet. You're going to get time for that political discourse, believe me, as it relates to violence in our schools in this country. But right now, we're trying to keep things really honed in on the human side of this story. We have 15 families that have lost loved ones today, and it's extraordinarily painful for these families. And also, too, we have even more families who might be at the hospital, likely at the hospital, or trying to get to the hospital because they're learning that their loved one has been injured in a shooting that occurred at an elementary school here in Uvalde, Texas. I'll pass this along again. The name of the shooter, as we confirmed earlier on in the stream, 18-year-old Salvador Ramos. The motive, the intent, whether or not this was a coordinated act of mass casualty violence is unclear at this time. We've heard that he was armed with a handgun and with a rifle, but exact details are still emerging as far as the shooter in this case. Again, 18 years old and connected to... Oh, okay. Stand by, folks. We have a reporter who's checking in.
Stand by. Yeah, listen, we just arrived in Uvalde. The perimeter that has gone up around Robb Elementary School is substantial, and I can tell you there is a heavy police presence here, heavily armed, as they continue to gather evidence in this very dynamic situation. There is a civic center about a quarter mile from where I'm standing, Lester, and that has become just an absolutely emotional epicenter of this community. That is where students were taken to be reunited with their parents. And you can imagine in a community of just 15,000 people how powerfully felt this is across this entire area. We have seen one husband in particular arrive at that reunification center, and he shared with our producer that he had brought flowers to his wife today to celebrate the last week of school. And that's when he initially heard the gunshots and realized something was horrifically wrong. We heard Texas Governor Greg Abbott today confirming the absolute worst. 14 students killed here in Uvalde, Texas today. One teacher lost. And Lester, if I could just share one quick story with you on how tight-knit this community is. When I arrived here and I began walking towards the school, I parked in front of a gentleman's home and I made sure that it was okay to do so. He said yes, and he said, by the way, the teacher that was killed inside that school today is my niece. We are going to hear more of these stories in the coming hours and days, but as of right now, it is a heartbreaking scene here in Uvalde on the edge of the Texas Hill Country, about 90 miles west of San Antonio. And this elementary school joining a heartbreaking list of so many others that have been impacted by school shootings. We do anticipate another update from officials tonight, Lester. We want to hear more about this gunman that walked inside with a handgun, potentially a rifle as well, when he started to open fire earlier today. We do know that police were initially dispatched to this location at about 11:42 a.m. That's when the calls of the active shooter initially went out. And there are still some gaps in the timeline that we are seeking clarity in as this investigation goes forward. We do know that that gunman is dead tonight. We do know he is from the city of Uvalde, Texas. But again, no word on any potential motive, and we are still awaiting to hear the names of those deceased. 14 students and one teacher. Lester.
Reporter for NBC Nightly News delivering a live shot. We were just able to access their feed to get some of the latest, including some of the timestamps there for the shooting that occurred. Apologies to our audience. We had two chopper feeds up. That original one that we had up earlier, that was the incorrect chopper feed. This is the chopper feed from Uvalde, Texas. There was a cross up in feeds. It happens. Apologies for that. So now we're looking here at Uvalde, very much after things have quieted down considerably, at least from a law enforcement standpoint, but from a medical standpoint, there are still an unknown number of people injured as a result of this shooting that are being treated in nearby hospitals and medical centers. So a difficult day, and prayers continue to go out for those who are anywhere from suffering from minor injuries to severe injuries as a result of this shooting. Let's check in with the folks over on YouTube Live. And this is what we do here, folks. We try to very much have a conversation with you, especially with a story like this where there's just so many emotional responses. And also, too, there's this feeling that sets in, and I feel it, we all feel it, with just trying to figure out exactly how and why. Just this question in your brain of what is happening in the world where this can happen. 14 people, 14 students are dead, one teacher dead, 15 total. So what we're going to try to do is continue to have a conversation here with you, make sure that we let you know, too, this is a safe space. We're going to continue to try to have as honest of a conversation with you, and also try to really keep things focused on those who are deceased. I'm really glad the reporter there, whose name I did not catch, I'm really glad that correspondent brought up something that is very much on the forefront of my brain, even though I haven't had a chance to articulate this. We don't know the names of the victims yet. We do know the name of the shooter. And you're going to see all over social media, you're going to see the name of the shooter. And again, we'll confirm it here for you. It's Salvador Ramos, 18 years old. But the attention should always be on those victims. That they deserve your attention. The victims deserve your attention. The shooter is going to be the subject of fascination because people are going to want to know why. And they're going to want to know who is capable of such a despicable act. And there's a lot to unpack there when it comes to building a profile for somebody who carries out such a despicable act of violence. However, let's also keep things really focused on the fact that the victims deserve more of your thoughts and prayers, or thoughts rather, than the shooter does in this case. So social media, let's try. I try to do my very best to help people rally towards causes that are worth rallying behind. And what we really need to do is spread as much love towards those victims tonight. There's going to be people sharing pictures and oh, this was the social media profile of the gunman, and this was what he posted a week ago or a month ago or a year ago. He said this. Oh, he belonged to this organization, or oh, he showed interest in this group. There's going to be all of that. But let's try to really keep things as focused as possible on who these victims were. And many of them are going to be at an extraordinarily young age. We're going to be talking about kids that are 7, 8, 9 years old. It's going to be, when the lists come out and we're looking at the ages of these students and how many of them we lost at before they were even able to reach, their teenage years, it's going to be an extremely difficult moment of realization for so many of us when we look at the loss of life. But again, just trying to do our very best here and keeping things focused on those victims. All right, YouTube, I'm just going to look for the hashtag, and with comments scrolling in as quickly as they are, it can be difficult. So I'm just going to look for those hashtags. I understand what you're saying there, Raymond, in the comment section. There will be time for talk of action and talk of what needs to happen in this country. That is going to happen, and believe me, it's already happening. You can go find a channel on the internet that is already having that conversation. We're going to give these families the what they deserve as far as just keeping things focused on the human element of the story before we really start digging into policy and solutions, and really look at past instances as well when it comes to how stalemates form in the aftermath of mass shootings. It's actually extraordinarily sad because we have an environment in this country, a political environment, where in the aftermath of shootings, there's a lot of people who do a whole lot of talking. And then when it comes time to actually get things done, disagreement takes precedence over meaningful and agreeable solutions. And so it's not necessarily, I'm not saying that there's one solution, and I don't want anyone to read into that by thinking that there is one solution to solve this, like I have some master blueprint to fix the instances of school violence. There's different quadrants of this very, very complex problem in this country when it comes to school violence. And they all need to be addressed. There isn't one Band-Aid solution that you put onto this and it automatically becomes better. But as far as the conversations about how we repair our country and prevent this from happening in the future, it has to happen at a later date. And we can only hope that at some point there's going to be more of a breakthrough and a consensus that is formed as to the best way to solve this Rubik's Cube of problems that we have in relation to mass casualty violence in this country. And I can only hope that eventually there's going to be those who come forward with sensible solutions that as Americans we can agree on, and not necessarily as somebody who, identifies as something, I belong to this party or this ideology. How about we just unify as Americans and try to get something done to help out all of these, to prevent these future instances from happening. Joanne says, #KJB, thank you for keeping it about the families and their community. Prayers and thoughts to all affected. Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about them all night long. Let's go back to our ground shot. Showing you just some of what's happening on the ground here. Bring up some audio. That's actually chopper audio there. There's the correspondent who just delivered this report. Going back to the chopper feed. We'll continue to monitor these feeds, folks, and try to stay here with you live as long as we can. Cindy Marceau, or Marco, #AJB, bless all 16 families they have suffered, and the shooter's family lost a child as well. Now is not the time for blame. Cindy noting that that we have, of course, the shooter's family who is also experiencing heartache of perhaps a different kind. And that's the first comment that I've seen of somebody pointing out that the shooter's family is in Cindy's comment saying and deserving of thoughts and prayers as well. Thank you. Thank you. That helps. Just getting some notes passed my way. Folks, let's just kind of reset here for a second, and then we'll get back to some of your comments, and we will come back to YouTube Live. Again, around lunchtime today at a Texas elementary school, Robb Elementary School, in Uvalde, Texas, 14 students, one teacher killed in a shooting that occurred by a gunman by the name of Salvador Ramos, 18 years old, who was either a high school student or a recent high school student in that area, as we understand it, had a handgun and a rifle. He was fatally wounded by a response by law enforcement during the attack that was unfolding. The quotes from Governor Greg Abbott. It is believed that he abandoned his vehicle and entered into the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde with a handgun, and he may have also had a rifle. He shot and killed horrifically and incomprehensibly 14 students and killed a teacher. The mass casualty incident occurring, again, the timestamp, around between 11:30 and noon today. Looking here at the aerial shot, as we're trying to, it looks like this is a rear point of entry or exit. You can see FBI at the scene. And as far as the shooting occurring inside the school, it might be a horrific scene. And what will happen, law enforcement too, they are responding to a scene. And when you, and it's not just law enforcement, it's also the medical examiner's office, a coroner that comes to the scene, the medical personnel that are at a scene. When you're dealing with a mass casualty incident involving children, that can be a mentally scarring ordeal, even for those who have dealt who've worked their entire careers in the medical field, responding to that scene and seeing children dead can be extraordinarily scarring mentally for those who, especially those who first get to the scene and are unable to alert others before they walk into that room or walk into that area. There's mental health professionals who will deal specifically with law enforcement, who respond to extraordinarily visually disturbing scenes like that. And so as we look here at the FBI, we've seen the DEA, we've seen local law enforcement, state law enforcement. I'm just also thinking and sending a prayer and also a thank you to those law enforcement members who are responding to a scene on an extremely difficult day in South Texas. Also being told that President Biden has been briefed on this attack. He is going to address the nation tonight. And that briefing is going to occur approximately 2 hours from now at 8:15 in the White House briefing room. Oh, no, I'm sorry. In another section of the White House. Regardless, he's speaking from the White House at around 8:15 this evening. That is Eastern time for those of you joining us. Let's go back over to YouTube and say hello to our YouTube audience. We are going to be wrapping up here in about 5 to 10 minutes or so. I just want to give everybody the opportunity to share any thoughts on a extraordinarily difficult day. Again, I try to make our comment section, I try to encourage our comment section to be as safe of a space as possible in moments where we're dealing with such emotional distress, such as a shooting involving kids. So I'll keep an eye here on the Facebook Live comment section as well as the YouTube Live comment section. If you're trying to get my attention, please use hashtag AJB. That just helps me identify the comments that where people want to be mentioned in our broadcast. Haley, I see your comment on YouTube Live. That's something that is currently being looked into. Julia Rock joins us from Canada, sending love. We've got Dr. Moskowitz, hashtag AJB, praying for these families. We can reach out to give to them. Just let us know what they need. Joining us from Idaho. Thank you, Doctor. That's very kind. I'm just again, comments that are political in nature, not going to read them. Tide Chaser, hashtag AJB, such a tragic situation. Many prayers for the people in this town. So sorry it happened. It's a heavy story and sorry you have to cover it. I'm sure it can't be easy. No, these days are never easy. They're, and they're difficult for us in the news industry to cover. I think that people in the news, or people that watch the news, think that we're just robotic and we report. And I can't speak for every reporter in this country, but I can speak for myself in saying that, of course, we get affected by the stories that we cover. Of course, we get affected by. How can you not be affected by 14 young students being killed in a school when they're 2 days away from summer vacation? What reporter is not going to have an emotional attachment to that despicable of an act? It affects all of us. Nancy says, hashtag KJB, thanks for pointing out the impact of all the law enforcement people that have to go through this. Prayers to all from North Carolina. Yeah, it's a good time to mention Nancy's comment because you're looking here at law enforcement. And I'm living through it from a studio location on really the other section of the country, the southeastern United States. I'm joining you guys from Tampa, Florida. But think about those who are walking these hallways. Think about those that are going into these rooms and seeing the end result of this mass casualty incident. Think about those people on your screen right there. They are living through it. Their senses are being just jolted by some extraordinarily disturbing images and disturbing knowledge as well. To be in a place where a mass casualty incident has occurred is an extremely potent thing for even law enforcement to deal with from a mental and social standpoint. So yeah, thinking and sending prayers and thanks to our hardworking men and women of law enforcement. You know, with Ghosts asks a good question, hashtag HJB, why is the DEA there? It was an all hands on deck response. Anybody in law enforcement, when you're talking about a shooting incident at a school, it is you know, you're going to have a multi-agency response, and a lot of times it's just going to be a hodgepodge of different agencies, and DEA might not be involved from a DEA investigation standpoint. It just might be that it's anybody who can help, anybody who can assist, will be called to the scene and try to help out. Jacqueline says, hashtag KJB, coming in late from Arkansas. I have nieces and nephews in Texas, and one teaches. Where in Texas did this happen? Yeah, this happened in Uvalde, Texas. This is about 80 or 90 or so miles west of San Antonio, southern Texas. Yeah, so southwestern Texas. And prayers and thoughts, Jacqueline, go out. I'm sure that if you're a teacher in Texas, a student in Texas, I'm just sure that this is an extremely difficult day. You could be on the other end of the state. You could be in Dallas. You could be in Houston. You could be in El Paso. You could be, really, it doesn't matter. Wherever you're from, you feel impacted by this, especially if you are a teacher. And so, Carol, I'm seeing your comment that is currently being looked into. Anya saying, or excuse me, not Anya, Anna. Hashtag HJB, this is absolutely devastating. This is very similar to Sandy Hook. My condolences to the families and community. Yeah, you're going to hear Sandy Hook. You're going to hear Stoneman Douglas. You're going to hear these names now. And you hate to hear those names pop back up in relation to a school shooting. It's heartbreaking, but we are dealing with another one of those days, folks. This is another one of those days. No one wants to be talking about it. No one wants this to be the reality that we're in, but it's the reality that we find ourselves in today, and it's heartbreaking. Fidel, hashtag HJB, did they capture the shooter? He was fatally wounded, and he is now deceased. Rhino Zeros, hashtag HJB, do you think the patrol guards within schools could divert the situation? Well, I'll just say this. I can't answer that question, but what I can say is that we're going to find out whether or not there was an armed officer on school grounds. That's going to be a question that comes out after this, is whether or not there was somebody at this school or somebody with this district that was armed, and whether or not they were involved in the response. These are questions that will come out, but it's not unheard of now. It's common in certain parts of the country for there to be armed school resource officers on school grounds to keep the student population and the teachers, of course, and all school staff safe. So those questions are going to be answered in time. Yeah, it's either Dana or Dana. Say Dana. Hashtag AJB, if we could for a moment put ourselves in the parents' shoes, even of the kids who weren't physically injured. It's going to be so hard for the community and all these sweet kids. Can you imagine being a second or third grader and returning to school next year? It's going to be extremely difficult for this community. I don't even think that extremely difficult is really the right way to put it. It's going to be painful. It's going to come with just this tremendous caution and questions about security and mental health. And I'm talking about those students. The students need to feel safe. They need to feel like they are in a safe place to learn. And these students are going to have to now have very important conversations so that they feel that they can continue progressing through their childhood and progressing through elementary school without mental scars from this day. And even if they do, and it might be impossible for some of them to carry on without, can you imagine if your 7-year-old or your 8-year-old was in the classroom over and heard gunshots? You just imagine the trauma that leads to for that young child, hearing gunshots at school. Now, a child that young might not be able to just audibly understand that those are gunshots. I think children who are used to hearing loud noises like that, then maybe they're thinking it could be fireworks, it could be a variety of different things. A child's mind might not, if they're just hearing it, might not automatically go to gunshots, but upon learning that they are gunshots, that is going to be an extremely traumatizing event for that young child. And so these children, they deserve, and they will require all the help and emotional support and mental health treatment that they can get. Folks, this is going to wrap it up for our live stream. I'll continue to, of course, try to do my very best to answer questions and just be a resource here for you. I try to do that as much as I can for folks. I really want to encourage folks to follow hardworking men and women in the world of local news, in the world of local journalism. Right now, there are people who are going to be committed to telling the stories of these victims and telling the story of exactly what transpired here. Those local news journalists deserve to be followed. I'm a local reporter out of Tampa. I really encourage folks to follow some of the reporters, from some of our colleagues that are there in San Antonio. They're going to be the ones really telling the stories and also reporting the information that you want reported. There's a lot of questions. How was this able to happen? The semantics of that you'll get from those local news reporters that are used to working in these communities. As we now have a shot here, I'm just now paying attention to the right side of your screen. There is again that vehicle that is found in this trench. It is significantly damaged, and where that falls in. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. The semantics of what unfolded today. I encourage you to follow some local news reporters that are going to be that live and work in these communities on a day-to-day basis. They're going to be the ones who are going to be able to tell you what unfolded here today and answer some of your questions. One more time, thoughts and prayers for those victims. There will be a time for a conversation about mass casualty incidents at schools in this country and why we have another instance of mass casualties at a school where kids are supposed to be safe. And then, of course, just on a day that nobody ever could have predicted, 2 days out from summer vacation, there's an act of inexplicable violence that breaks out inside of this school. I encourage folks to keep things focused on the victims and continue to send thoughts and prayers to the family and also to try to very much remember this moment in time when it comes to when we start to have conversations or start to continue those conversations about how we prevent this from happening in the future. You might think that you have an idea as to what needs to happen in this country to prevent future incidents from occurring. And whatever your belief is and whatever you believe is needs to be part of the solution or at least part of the conversation, I just encourage you to speak up, to speak when it comes to these political arenas where people discuss and have open forums for how we go about this in our country, to remember days like today and to be as informed and as educated of an American as you can be, to discuss these issues and be as equipped as possible to discuss these issues when they do come up. Folks, the very latest on this story on WFLA.com, as well as our sister station websites. We're going to be, of course, continuing to report on this terrible, tragic day out of Texas and provide you with the latest as it becomes available. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. You can go over to WFLA.com. You can click on the WFLA app. You can download the WFLA app. A lot of different ways. I can be followed if you'd like to follow me on social media. And again, I'll try to very much be a resource for you at WFLAJB on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I just want to put that out there for folks that have not found our news coverage here in the past. What we try to do is have a conversation with our audience here live, interactively, and we will continue to do so with news stories that matter to you most, our viewers. Thanks so much for watching, and again, sending thoughts and prayers for all those in Uvalde, Texas.